If God lived on Earth, people would break his windows. Hello, boys and girls. Lord Hawkeye here again. This is going to be something of a video response to the fellow whose name escapes me. Made this, pardon me, sorry. Sorry about that. Anyways, this is going to be a video response, and, to some degree, to the fellow who made the raw milk S commercial, asking several scenarios. Rather than answering his scenarios directly, I'm going to address the broader issue about scammers. It's a legitimate question. Should we call on the government to deal with scammers, or is there some other way? Well, as for my answer, should we call the government to deal with scammers? Well, as always, my answer would be no. Why? There's a couple reasons. One, because the government sucks at it. Have you actually seen how they typically deal with scammers? What usually ends up happening is they go to court, they sign a form that basically says, I don't admit to doing anything wrong, but I promise I won't do it again. And then they go to the next state over and continue preying on people. And the people who are scammed, once again, get no compensation whatsoever. Now, I think we can do a little better than that. What can we do? Well, as the main point is, the first line of defense against scammers has to be you. I mean, there's no other way around it. You can fine them for $1,000. You can fine them for $1 million. It doesn't matter. There's just too much money to be made from people who believe these things too easily. What has to happen is people have to stop believing it. That's the absolute only way that scammers can be put out of business. So why do people fall for these? My own theory is that government has a very bad habit of putting people into a false sense of security. When they got all these laws, all these regulations, these huge lists of regulations, it creates this mindset of, oh, well, they couldn't say that if it wasn't true. There's all these laws against it. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. So I think if there was no overarching state and people had to actually rely on their own devices to protect themselves from scammers, I think you would very quickly see people become much more skeptical and much more careful. Also, government is kind of guilty of running a lot of scams themselves, including Social Security, which is by any definition a Ponzi scheme, so I would say it's quite foolish to trust them to deal with scammers, considering they're not exactly innocent on the matter. And the whole thing with should you use the government's force to stop some bad deal from happening, unfortunately the problem is you're basically saying that if two people are making a deal that they both agree to, but you personally find it distasteful, even though you're not part of the deal, that you should be allowed to point guns at them and say, oh no, you can't do that deal because I don't like it. And anyone is very legitimately going to say, what concern is that of yours? People will make bad decisions, but you can't shield them from that. They have to either learn from their mistakes, or there you go. So ultimately, scamming is a problem, but as always, I do not believe that government violence is going to solve it. As for your third question about the war on drugs, I'll be linking a video series my friend Shane did about the drug war and why it is, as bad as drugs are, the drug war is far worse. Far, far worse by any definition. And just like I always said before, if you try to solve problems using violence, you will always get the opposite result you intended. Use the drug war to promote peace, and you'll get more war. Use government violence to stop scammers, and you'll only make it easier to scam people. It's funny how it happens, but that's just how it always works. Until next time, be aware and be wise.